Stranger advice is a labor of love to help people understand those that are different than them better. In one sentence, that is what Stranger Advice is about. As an Atlanta based commercial photographer, I've learned that people are often as intrigued with the creative process and the why of the creation as they are the finished creation itself. To address some of that, I've put together this introduction video for this project that I've had floating around in my head for almost 2 years now. Stranger Advice. Give me a few minutes of your time and I'll explain more about who I am, what this project is, and why I'm doing it. That's me standing in for a lighting test on one of the many corporate shoots that make up a good bit of the work I shoot as a photographer. I can and have shot most anything for clients over the years, but always have excelled with portrait photography. I attribute this more to my genuine curiosity of people from all walks of life than any particular technique concerning lighting or photography gear. Pretty early on as a photographer, through an assignment for a documentary photography class I took in ad school way back in 2002, I realized how much I love photographing random strangers. People on Ponce was the name of that assignment. I never really finished it, but it has stuck with me as a favorite from my time in school. I went out and found people totally different than me, often in the middle of the night, to photograph and talk with on a street here in Atlanta called Ponce de Leon. I was deliberately trying to get out and find people that were polar opposites of me in an effort to try and understand them better after having recently moved to Atlanta from my hometown in North Florida, Madison, both of which are polar opposites as well. It wasn't the safest thing for me to have been out doing with expensive camera gear in hand, but I couldn't seem to help myself, and it resulted in some great photos and stories to tell. I intended to handwrite these stories to display with the finished portraits as a finished project, but spent too much time out shooting for it and not enough time processing, printing, and writing about it. To this day, I still have not gotten all the film I shot for the assignment processed and printed, and to this day, I still regret it. Fast forward a few years to iPhones and social media. The combination of the two revived my love of photographing strangers that I first discovered through that assignment. The feeling I get from how these people often respond to my interest in who they are and what they're all about gives me more of a sense of purpose as a photographer than anything else I photograph, even though it pays nothing. Sometimes they will have the most interesting stories and say something incredibly profound, even though they are, in some cases, homeless and living on the street. The type that so many people don't even want to look at and acknowledge, and certainly not have a conversation with and look for wisdom in. I started sharing the portraits I do of them, along with my written account of how I happened upon them and the random bits of insight I get from the process. Then I started asking each of them, what is one bit of advice you want the viewers of your portrait to know regarding life? The only stipulation I give them is that it can't be anything negative regarding any particular group of people. It has to be something positive. I'd share in writing these portraits along with the advice given by the people in them, as well as additional details of my time spent with them or their impression on me, and, well, people seem to respond to this work more than they do to much of the commercial work I shoot and share that takes so much more skill to create as a photographer. And even though I never thought of myself as much of a writer, I began to have people complimenting me on my writing about my experiences with these people, as if they enjoyed the stories I write to go along with the portraits as much as the portraits themselves. Fast forward again to the past couple of years. I began to get somewhat bored with just doing still photography and took more interest in video, audio sampling, and, due to having had people occasionally tell me for years that I should do voiceover and narration work due to my accent, that too. So, this project is a combination of those things from a creative standpoint: photography, writing, video, audio sampling, and voiceover work. So, that explains the background of this whole project from a creative standpoint, but doesn't really cover the much more important explanation of why I'm doing it, the emotional side of it. In recent years, it has really gotten to me seeing and hearing people constantly at odds with each other, often not even wanting to just try and understand those that are different than them better. People not wanting to take the time to think about why those that are different than them see various life issues differently than they do, due to their own personal life experiences being different. We're all different to various degrees, and the world would be a very boring place if we were not. Imagine every single person you know being an exact clone of you both physically and mentally. Yeah, we'd all get pretty sick of ourselves pretty quickly, don't you think? The diversity or variety amongst us truly is the spice of life. There is beauty to be found in every single one of us. There's something to be learned from everybody you encounter. We've all just got to be willing to open our eyes and hearts to see it. As a photographer, I'm often able to help others see beauty in things they may otherwise pass by and not give a second thought to. Well, Stranger Advice is my attempt to help us see the beauty not in things or places, but in human beings that are different than us. It's my attempt to help us understand each other better. It's my attempt to help us love one another. Please go out and actively look for reasons to love others, y'all, because our world is in desperate need of it right now.